Although it's been a couple years since the incident, the memory of it still creeps me out to this day, and it's about someone I never, ever want to come across again. It all started and ended the day after I took my last final for college. I don't know if he was a stalker or if it was just a break-in gone weird, but it's hard to forget that night, even now. It began on a crisp October Thursday, the air already turning colder as fall set in. Halloween decorations were everywhere. Pumpkins, skeletons, fake cobwebs draped across balconies and bushes. The mood of the season was definitely heavy in the air. That strange mixture of excitement and unease. That morning I had my last exam. I was so nervous that I might fail this one class. If I failed, I wouldn't be able to receive my associate degree. And then all of that effort, it would have basically been for nothing. The looming anxiety of that all stayed with me throughout the day, an eerie tension that sometimes comes naturally with autumn. After the exam, I returned to the apartment where my friends were hanging out. There was a chill in the air, the sun already setting earlier, casting long shadows over the complex. We had planned to celebrate once we were all done with finals, and as time ticked on, I checked my phone, my heart in my throat, and there it was. I passed. Well, barely passed, but that's all I needed. With more good news from my friends around the room, I told them that we were celebrating. I was elated. If I kept this up, I would definitely be walking with my class come spring. As the sun dipped below the horizon, we settled into the cozy warmth of the apartment. Instead of going out, we decided to stay in and keep things low-key. By 2 a.m., the celebration had wound down, and most of my friends had left. It was just me, my 2 roommates, their significant others, and one close friend who had stuck around. By around 3 a.m., my friends decided to head out to grab a late-night snack, and I didn't think much of it. I was used to being home alone late at night, and the comforting glow of the Halloween lights on my neighbors' balconies was enough to keep the atmosphere cozy. I soon headed back to my room, grabbed a snack of my own, and settled in to wait for them to return. My room was at the very back of the apartment, the farthest from the front door and patio. You had to walk through the entire place, past the living room, the kitchen, and down the hallway to get to it. Normally I felt safe there, but that night not so much. During the time of this incident, the front gate of the complex was broken and had been left open for weeks. We lived close to the front of the complex near the entrance, and while that never bothered me before, something about that night felt different. My room had one large window, and if I didn't have the blinds shut, you could see right in. Not only that, but my closet doors were both mirrored, so if anyone were to peek in, they could basically see the entire room. I usually kept the blinds closed, especially at night, but on this occasion, I must have forgotten. Outside, the wind rustled the fallen leaves, scattering them across the pavement as the air grew colder. I lay in bed. I was exhausted from the day and all the excitement, and after a few minutes of scrolling through my phone, I drifted off to sleep. The last thing I remembered was the sound of the leaves rustling in the wind, the occasional jack-o'-lantern glowing through the darkness. It was around 3:30, maybe almost 4 a.m. when I fell asleep, and for whatever reason I had even left my bedroom light on. I don't know what exactly woke me up a couple hours later, but when I stirred it was 5:30 a.m. The room was dark, which was strange because I was sure I'd left the light on. Then I noticed something even stranger. There were flashes of light, slow, steady, almost like the flicker of a strobe light coming from the corner of my room, right by the closet. At first, in my sleepy state, I thought it was my friends coming back to mess with me. Maybe they'd snuck in while I was sleeping, planning to pull a prank on me. It was the season for it anyway. But as my eyes adjusted to the darkness, and I became more aware of my surroundings, I realized with horror that it wasn't my friends. There was a man standing in the corner of my room. He was tall, at least 6 foot, and he wore a dark green Nike hoodie, with the hood pulled up over his head. In his hand, he held a phone. It was the light of the camera flashing as he took pictures of me. My heart froze in my chest. There I was lying in bed, shorts and an old t-shirt. My privacy was completely invaded. I couldn't move, I couldn't scream. All I could do was stare in disbelief as he stood there, still calmly taking pictures of me. Didn't even care that I was awake. The only sound in the room was a soft rustling of the wind against the window, the occasional hum of the apartment heater kicking on. When I finally regained enough control to speak and realize I wasn't dreaming, I blurted out, "What the hell?" The man didn't panic. He didn't run. Instead, he calmly lowered his phone, turned around, and walked out of my room, like nothing even happened. He wasn't in a rush. He didn't make a sound, he didn't care, he just walked out, as if he had a right to be there. Shaking with both rage and fear, I jumped out of my bed and did the only thing I could think to do, which now I don't know why, but I ran after him. I guess it was the fight or flight kicking in, and I chose to fight. I was yelling at him as I followed him down the hallway and into the living room, but by the time I reached the front door, he was gone, vanished, like a shadow melting into the night. Outside, the wind howled through the trees, and everything seemed much more sinister. My heart was racing and I felt like I might throw up. I ran back inside and frantically woke up my roommates, asking if they had set me up or were playing a prank on me. But their confused, groggy expressions told me they weren't. I immediately called the police. When they arrived, I walked them through the events of the night, still in a state of shock. They searched the apartment and discovered that the only thing missing was my laptop. It had been sitting on my desk in the far corner of the room. What struck me as odd was that there had been 3 laptops, 2 wallets, and a $300 speaker in the kitchen. Yet none of those were taken. Just my laptop. That wasn't even the worst part. Inside my laptop was a SIM card for my camera, which held all my personal photos. Pictures of me, friends, family, where I live, places I go. Now those pictures were in the hands of a stranger who had been standing in my room, watching me sleep. The police didn't find anything, and of course there were no leads. Both the front door and the patio door had been unlocked that night after everyone came back home, and that made it easy for him to get in. I couldn't shake that feeling of violation, knowing that someone had been in my room, invading my personal space and taking pictures of me without my knowledge or consent. A few days later, as I was getting back from running errands, I was walking back to the apartment from my car, and I happened to glance up at the apartment directly above mine. My stomach dropped. Through the blinds, I could see a tapestry hanging on the wallpaper, an exact replica of the one I had in my room. It was a black and white tapestry of a wolf and a moon. Not only that, but the lights in the room had been switched out for purple ones, I noticed, which now matched the purple string of Halloween lights my mom had given to me because she knew they were my favorite color. You could call that a crazy coincidence, but it only added to the fear that I felt with the events that happened. In the end, the man was never found. I never actually saw his face. And why would someone do that in the first place? I never got my laptop back, and my SIM card with all of my photos remains missing. My advice to anyone, after having gone through this incident, is to always lock your doors, no matter how safe you think your neighborhood is, or how many people are around. Too much trust and sense of security can easily blur your sense of caution. You might feel safe with the warmth of friends and family, and knowing where you are, but that night taught me that you never know what could happen once the lights go out and the streets grow quiet. You never know who might be watching, what you could wake up to, or who might already be in your home.